Hello and welcome to CabChat. This is episode 277. And once again, Tom's done the script or agenda for this week's show. So what are we talking about this week, Tom?
This week on CabChat, we are talking about blackcab.com. Is it any good? Has anyone got any work off it? Let us know. I've also joined another taxi app, a bit more of a firm, established one in the cab trade. And I'll let you know how I've got on with that. We're going to be talking about promoting the knowledge. A particular individual who's very dogmatic with his views on the knowledge and the cab trade. And some arguments and things that may have come apart from that. We're going to be hopefully reintroducing Cabeoke. We've got a slight change for Pie and Mash venue in March, and where we're going to be meeting at the Fish and Chips in April. And this week, we don't have a funeral for the roads. We've got a birth. Yeah, all coming up.
A birth for the road. So blackcab.com launched on at the beginning of March, and obviously it's going to take some time for it to build up. And, the same as Jump, the first week that Jump launched in January 2025, I think they had 35 jobs in the week or something like that. January 2026, 3,500 jobs per week. So if you're one of those that's going to go onto the app and expect to see an abundance of work from day one, it's not going to happen. It's going to take time. Obviously, there are those customers that were already signed up to the Unify app that will probably still use blackcab.com, but it's going to take time for it to build. One thing that they have done is they've got adverts in all British Airways in-flight magazines. And they've also got adverts in the Eurostar magazine as well. So hopefully that will generate quite a lot of work for blackcab.com. And you've got to remember that I got asked a question the other day, was, is it worth joining this app? And I just replied and said, it's free. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? You're not paying for anything. You're not getting charged any commission. So why would you not join it?
I noticed the other day, like I've joined it, I've got it. I've noticed one little change actually since it's been running, but it's just on a search radius, because I think the biggest radius or smallest radius you could have was 1 mile, but it's now gone down to 0.5 miles. So I don't want to be getting jobs coming up from other parts of the map,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there thinking, like, I haven't put my payment details in. How will they pay me?
Yeah, so you've rectified that, have you?
Well, as you said, it's just to link you up with the jobs, isn't it? So
they don't ask for payment details. Not at the moment, anyway.
Yeah.
They may be getting account work and things like that. So I should imagine that's something that they'd be looking at in the future, and probably the way that they aim to earn their money out of the app. We won't know. We are going to have Lee DeCosta on CabChat at a future show. So we can pose those questions to him, and hopefully that's going to be a question and answer session where people can either send their questions in or they can phone in and speak to Lee directly and ask the questions of the man himself. But yeah, I can't see why anyone wouldn't join the app. It's like having the Taxi World system fitted in your cab and not using the Jump app. It's a no-brainer, really. If you're one of those drivers that think that, we don't need apps, you've got your head buried in the sand as far as I'm concerned. People's attitudes have changed, and I don't want this to sound derogatory to any taxi customers that are out there, but people in general around the world have become lazy, and they want to just sit in the restaurant and hail a taxi. They don't want to go out on the street and start trying to hail a taxi on the street and hope to find one. They want to sit in the comfort of the chair they're sitting in, carry on their conversation, and wait for the taxi to pull up outside and then just walk out and get in it. So it's all about convenience, laziness, convenience, and availability.
There's some nuance to it, I think, in that it's sometimes people will use an app, sometimes people will just grab one on the street.
Yeah.
In the same way that you've only got to go to certain restaurants now, and they'll say, "Oh, how are you paying?" "Oh, we're paying a card." "Oh, if you just scan that QR code there, that allows you to pay it." And that system then has like if you want to split the bill between 5 of you, or if someone wants to pay 2/3 of it and someone wants to pay the other third. So it's just making it as accessible as possible. They're removing friction. Sometimes, obviously, apps do add friction. There's nothing going to be quicker than hailing down a cab on the street if it's there.
Yep.
So this just allows us to be omnipresent.
Well, yeah, and also, one of the benefits of an app is that you can't see around street corners when you're driving the cab.
Yeah.
Whereas, someone might be around the corner and want a taxi, and they can use the app, and they may not be able to see you. You can't see them, but the app can see you, and they can see you on the app. So also, they might be sitting in a restaurant. It might be pouring down with rain outside, and they haven't got an umbrella. And they're not going to go and stand outside in the pouring rain, getting absolutely drenched, looking for a taxi. Because as we know, when it does pour down with rain like that, taxis become in high demand. So if they can sit in wherever they are, in the pub or in the restaurant or in the theatre or wherever, and just use an app to hail a taxi, then that's what they're going to do. And the younger generation, this is what they're used to doing. So we've got to embrace this technology and use it to our advantage. And, blackcab.com Jump are two of the things that we need in our armoury, and a tool that we can use as taxi drivers to maximise the time that we're out there working.
Very much so.
Awkward silence.
I was just preparing for our next part, next sort of thing. I mean, I tell you what, whilst we are on the topic of apps,
yep.
I have, as I said at the top of the show, joined an app that's been way before the idea of an app existed, I guess, in this cab trade, and that is ComCab.
Originally started as London-wide radio taxis.
London-wide radio taxis. Was you there when it started?
No. Thank you very much.
I think I know it's 50 years of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
sorry,
is it 50 years this year or 50 years last year?
I think it is. I think all the sort of, I've not deeply looked into it, but all the materials I've had come at me, it's got like 50 on it, so I imagine it's 50 something, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was alive when it started, but I wasn't driving a taxi unless it was a toy one at the time.
One liveried up, yeah.
But
no, joined them because I think, well, I'm with all the other. I was just speaking with a cab driver actually. I was in, of all places, I went to a pool bar, the one on Duke Street Hill. That proper like dive bar looking kind of pool place upstairs there. I mean, it was a bit. It was easier to go in and play pool on a Saturday afternoon, I'll put it that way. But there was a cab driver in there, and he was telling me he works days, and he's like, yeah, I use ComCab, and I get some sort of interesting jobs off there. Obviously, have the taxi card work and stuff. And I thought, well, with all the other ones, and I know a lot of people say, well, look, they also Addison Lee and things like that. But I'm like, you should have a suite of apps maybe. But to be honest, I haven't done a job on it, partially as well, because currently they're having an issue on iPhone whereby you can only get I don't know if this is all the apps doing this, by the way, if it's an iPhone issue or if it's just their programming. But with ComCab, I found I can't actually get a job notification unless I have the app open on the screen. So if I scroll off and open up WhatsApp or I have some other cabbie feed coming up, it has to be ComCab that's open for the job. Because I'll go back to the app and it'll be like, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this. And apparently they're working on it. They did phone me up and say that's what they're working on.
I've had that problem with Get as well.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's an iPhone issue.
It may well be to do with the latest iPhone update, and these apps are not keeping up with the updates on the iOS system. There used to be a way around that, is that ComCab used to give you an Android phone to use, because at one point the app wasn't available on iPhone. And I've still got the phone somewhere, but it's another device to have in the cab on display. And I just like,
Yeah, it did say to me that they phoned me back up. I mean, they've got a cool, I guess, driver onboarding team, which is like they phone you up and say, yeah, we've received it. Let us know if you want anything. Come in and come to the driver office. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'm far too lazy. But the option is there, because it does seem to be a bit more going on with the app than other kind of taxi apps, I guess. So maybe that would be a worthy thing for me to do. But yeah, I just never thought about it. As with anything on CabChat, I know we speak of different topics and different people, but we're not affiliated or associated with any of these companies or apps.
Definitely
this
not.
is just Jamie and I just wanting to just tell cab drivers what's out there and what works for us, what doesn't work for us.
What's available, yeah.
Our opinion doesn't necessarily reflect how good or bad an app or a service might be. It's just how we found it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on ComCab since I come back to driving a cab, and I do very little work on there. I very rarely log on to it, to be honest. Probably that's why I do very little work on it. But interestingly, Drumslayer said that he does a lot of work on ComCab for the hours he works, does a lot of taxi card work, and he finds it quite useful for him. So, horses for courses, really. It may benefit some drivers and not be so good for other drivers. But yeah, it's another tool to have in your toolbox, and another option, another avenue, another revenue stream, as people would say. And you can never have too many revenue streams, can you? Really?
No. I mean, there is obviously, as we alluded to in a previous episode, at what point does it become too distracting, and you would earn the money anyway? I.e., if I'm fully present with the street, really keeping my head close and understanding what's actually moving around, maybe keeping an eye on WhatsApp groups, could I earn more, or could I be more efficient, or maybe I'd be less stressed? Who knows? Or do you have every app under the sun, plus WhatsApp groups for intel, etc.? Like it can be quite overwhelming at times, and I think every driver's got to make that mental calculation of what works for them, really.
Yeah.
Some people just like the freedom and ease of just like, nope, I'm just going to see where the wind blows. I'm just going to go out and drive. I'm not on any apps. And to be fair, I probably should be that way, because I don't really do a lot of app works. It's more just something for me to do. Just download an app and have a go at it.
Yeah. You can always go and have the ComCab system fitted. You know that, can't you?
What? Yeah, I couldn't work out then, right? So the benefit of the viewers, like, I just assume, because I'm just lazy, app will do it. I think you probably get less percentages by having the system fitted.
I'm not sure if they still charge you rent for the system
You know
anymore.
what? I'm going to do it correctly. I've got the email here. Let me have a look.
You're going to have a look.
Yep.
They used to charge you rent if you had the ComCab system fitted.
Yep.
And they used to, you would have got priority over the app having the ComCab system fitted in your cab.
Here we go. So there's two systems here. It says highlight your preferred subscription when completing your application. ComCab Connected, and that's integrated equipment for your taxi with optional credit card facilities. You have to do, you have a refundable deposit of £100, £5 plus VAT to rent the equipment on a weekly basis, 10% plus VAT for taxi card work. So that's the fees they take, 10% for taxi card work, 15% for non-taxi card work, and then you have to pay £60 installation, one-off hire cost for printer, and then 2.5% plus VAT, plus 20p per credit card transaction if you use their credit card machines. And then with bring your own device, it's exactly experience the same quality work as ComCab Connected, but using your own device, 15% plus VAT for taxi card and non-taxi card work. So basically, the only difference I can see is that if you do a lot of taxi card work, ComCab Connected with all the devices seems to be the way to go, because taxi card work is just 10% commission, whereas with the bring your own device, it's 15% commission. Non-taxi card work is 15%, whether it's you've got the system installed or whether it's your own device.
So that's the only benefit to having the system installed.
So I guess what you say, 5% on a taxi card work. Let's say you did £100 of, well, you need to be doing £100 of taxi card work a week
to make
to
it worthwhile.
warrant the 5%, the £5 extra it's going to cost you for your equipment rental fee.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, yeah.
I would imagine ComCab are very gradually moving away from the installed equipment model, because it's costly. £5 per week. It's not really paying for the equipment that's installed in the cab.
They've got to keep it all up to date. It's another thing they have to reach out to. So yeah, it's. I would imagine they're probably slowly moving away from it. And when they phoned me, they said, "Oh, which one do you want? Is it you doing it on your own device?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, cool."
Getting back to the other apps, I mean, one of the complaints that I'm hearing about Jump is a lot of drivers saying that, you know, they might have been sitting on a rank and they get a Jump job, they pull off the rank only to get halfway towards picking the people up and the job's cancelled. And I think this is one of the problems with the Jump app, where people don't have to register on there. It's causing a bit of problem with cancellations, you know, and drivers are getting a bit despondent about it to a certain extent. And I think it's something that they may need to address in the future, where people are going to need to register, because if you've got people that are persistently doing that, those customers need a warning sent to them, or banning from using the app, because they're basically just wasting drivers' time.
Yeah, I'm just seeing there was a particular incident, and I don't know if I'm privy to talk about it. I'm just going to see if it's on their Twitter. I can't actually see Jump on Twitter at all. But yeah, related to this, that there was a driver, it might be under Taxi World maybe. There was a driver that did abuse this, and they were obviously going to take relevant steps to kind of get it rectified. So I won't go too much more into it, so I can't see if that's actually public knowledge or not.
It was on their Twitter. It was on their Twitter feed. It was on Taxi World's Twitter feed at one time.
Okay, yeah. So I've not got that there, but we can maybe go into that another time. But yeah, I mean, arguably, you want low friction, because low friction is good from a customer perspective, because anything, whether it's paying for goods, whether it's a basket checkout online, everything is to remove as many steps as necessary to be able to get someone to commit.
Exactly, yeah.
So you don't want to disincentivize someone by having to sign up, because that can be a real hurdle. And of course, it's almost worth saying, well, the amount of cancellations not warrants, but there's probably a break-even point where amount of cancellations versus the work that drivers get, because passengers don't need to sign up. So it's that little tricky balance there, I would say.
Yeah, the only problem is, you know what things are like in the cab trade. The old Chinese whispers go round, and by the time it gets around the cab trade, it's like, 75% of jobs you get offered get cancelled. And that'll disincentivise drivers from actually accepting jobs on the Jump app. And that's the worry. That is the real worry. You've got to strike an even balance to a certain extent. And I think they've really got to look at the analytics of it and decide whether the amount of cancellations warrants requiring people to sign up for the app, or whether it is really such a small number that are actually cancelling that it doesn't warrant people signing up for the app. And I would imagine it's the latter, that the amount of cancellations is very small. But on Twitter and places like that, you're only ever going to hear about the bad experiences. You're never going to hear about the good experiences, unless someone gets a job to Scotland off of Jump. Then they're gonna shout from the rooftops about it. But if they've just got an ordinary run-of-the-mill job, they're not going to shout, "Oh, I've just got a job off Jump and the people didn't cancel." You're only going to hear when people cancel. So it swings and roundabouts, really. But something I think they need to keep a very close eye on, and may need addressing in the future as the app grows, I think. Interestingly, we spoke about Cabby 007 on the last show, that he's put something on YouTube about the maxi cab. He was actually talking about Jump and blackcab.com, because obviously there was representatives of blackcab.com down at Great Suffolk Street on the 3rd of March. And he has recently switched over to the Taxi World system from CabVision, believe it or not. His CabVision system is up for sale on Facebook if anyone wants to buy it for £60. But he was saying that he believes that to compete, Taxi World or Jump will have to have an app in the end, so that it can allow all drivers in the trade to be on the app. I don't think that's in their plan, to be honest. I mean, their whole business model is around enticing you onto the Taxi World system to fund the app. So,
Well, it
to fund the
depends. I mean,
system.
if Black Cab is able to grow to the degree that Jump has, then that would be an interesting dynamic. But I don't think it will, because what worked for Jump's case was that the hardware was already in the cabs,
in the cab. Yeah,
and that was just the most genius move. It's there, and they just flick a switch, on it goes. With blackcab.com, you've either got to install a lot of hardware or get the app on a lot of drivers' phones, which I don't think is going to be as seamless as what Jump did.
well, I mean, on the Unify app, there was over 1,000 drivers on the Unify app already.
But about what, 7,000 on Jump or something? It's close.
It's about
to
6,000 on Jump.
Yeah.
At the moment. But then you got to remember that Free Now at one time had like 12, 14,000 drivers on it.
Yep.
So it's possible. It is possible that, blackcab.com could grow and become bigger with a bigger driver base than Jump has got. Only time's going to tell whether drivers take to it or whether they don't take to it. I would imagine that anybody that uses an app will sign up to blackcab.com.
Yeah.
Because if they already use Get and Free Now and they're used to paying the commissions, a no commission model is going to be more attractive, and it's a no-brainer for them to sign up for it. So you'll find that all those that are on the Get app, all those that are on the Free Now app will sign up for blackcab.com, plus those that were already on the Unify app will sign up for blackcab.com. So I think they're going to be, to a certain extent, on par with each other. It just depends on how things grow. And, there are drivers out there who are very critical of the charges on Taxi World. 3.75% plus 20 pence, plus if you want daily payments, an extra £1 a week. I think that's something that Taxi World really need to look at, is that, scrub the pound a week and go to daily payments for everybody, especially with MTD coming in. It's just going to make taxi drivers' lives easier in doing their accounting with MTD.
Yeah, I wonder if they've done anything in regards to MTD. That'd be very interesting to see, to make that process a bit easier.
I mean, I've not asked for daily payments. I was quite happy with the twice weekly payments, but then thinking about this MTD, I actually phoned them this week and said, "Can I switch to daily payments?" So I'm going to pay the £1 a week at the moment, but I think it's something they need to look at, and they need to scrap the £1 a week and just offer it as an option, a free option.
In theory, that will make a bit more workload, because it depends if you can sort of round up your accounting periods, I guess. But if you do daily payments, then you would just do whenever the bank, whenever the money lands in your account, basically, and link that to whatever Making Tax Digital platform you're using. Yep. But if it's twice weekly, then in theory you've already done the work. So then it depends whether you then charge it or you put the Making Tax Digital when the payment arrives or when you've done the work. Yeah. Which obviously the invoicing from Taxi World's going to say otherwise. It's going to say, well, you earn it on this day. So that could be, some stuff that falls into one tax year or one accounting period and not the other. So it could just make it a little bit more of a headache. Yeah,
that's why I've opted to switch over to daily payments, to be honest with you. I just thought it's going to make life easier to some extent. I might be wrong.
Well, they might say, well, we're going to keep the pound charge because we're making Making Tax Digital easier for you.
Well, yeah, but then, Cabvision do daily payments 7 days a week.
Yep.
Now.
Yep.
Even when you're paying £1 a week, you don't get daily payments 7 days a week from Taxi World.
Yeah.
They don't work weekends.
That's nice, so, really. Yeah.
It should be, if you're going to charge me £1 a week, give me daily payments 7 days a week.
I still think Veevo is one of the greatest systems, really.
Well,
I think it's wonderful. I think the only reason that didn't do as well was just because it just wasn't as good an operation for fleet owners. It's great for an owner driver, but in terms of from what I heard, the data that you can get out of it and how it works with fleets, not so good.
Yeah. Whereas Taxi World are giving fleets back-end access into the system. They can tell where their taxis are, and
it's everything. It's not just payments, isn't it? It's that whole system of being able to.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't give a fleet owner, access to the payments that the driver's taking. It just gives them access to where the vehicle is, whether it's being driven like a lunatic and things like that, and
Yeah, just essential fleet stuff. That's just kind of just a nice bonus for your fleet management.
Mileage is so that the proprietor can tell when the taxi needs servicing and things like that. He's not got to rely on the driver being honest about taking it in for a service and things like that. He can tell when it needs a service.
Up and then they go, "Oh, what's your mileage? Don't know. I think it was about that. Oh, I'm not in the cab at the moment. Oh," and then you just completely miles off. Yeah, and it costs them more money in the long run.
Yeah, and they end up losing, warranties on vehicles that they didn't need to lose. So in that respect, that's what's attracted a lot of proprietors to sign or have Taxi World fitted in all their cabs. So it's because it benefits them and it's free of charge to them as well. Yeah. It's something they haven't got to pay for. They haven't got to pay for telematics to be fitted in the vehicle. It's already there. They've got access to it. So that's why they're being attracted to it.
Whilst we're talking to proprietors...
while we're talking about proprietors, what a very good segue into the next thing we was going to talk about, which is Paul Byron. We said we was going to do a thing called Create a Spotlight, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's still something that we intend to do. And let's just say,
you know what? Let's start it now. This is a Create a Spotlight because there's a lot of cab drivers out there that are prominent on social media in their own ways for their own benefits, right?
And there's more and more coming on as well. So
yeah,
which is a good thing.
Yeah, you know mine and Jamie's perspective on this. I firmly believe that a rising tide raises all ships. In that there's a certain demographic of people that I will hit. There's a certain demographic of people that Jamie will hit, and so forth. And the person that we're talking about today, Paul Byron of HP Taxis, known as Park Lane Paul on Twitter, is obviously doing a really stunning, sterling job of getting new entrants into the trade, getting people excited about doing the knowledge, particularly sort of young people. And, the most common quip, obviously, that he probably gets is that, well, you're a proprietor, it's in your interest, you want people into this trade because you get to rent out more cabs. It's like, yes.
It's what's called a vested interest.
But we all have a vested interest.
If I go on social media and promote doing, to tell people about things about the history of London, it's because I've got a vested interest. So I want them to book me to take them on a tour of London. So that's called a vested interest. Everybody has a vested interest to a certain extent, and a reason why they're doing it. And, if you're only doing YouTube videos because you want to earn ad revenue out of it, you want to encourage people to your YouTube channel to subscribers and to view your videos and things like that, it's because you've got a vested interest in the fact that you're going to earn ad revenue out of it. So whichever way you look at it, everybody does it because they've got a vested interest.
But the wider vested interest of the cab trade, and we touched on this in the previous episode, is that more cabs will in turn create more demand for the service, or a more reliable demand. So we use the example of one of the Clapham ranks that no cabs would use it. More cabs turn up. People go, oh, wow, there's cabs here, I can use it. And it needs to be a reliable option outside of every venue. I mean, I picked up a lady from the Royal Albert Hall this week. Sometimes you go to the Royal Albert Hall and it is surrounded with cabs awaiting a burst. Or in this lady's instance, she'd walked all the way pretty much down to the Knightsbridge Barracks and said, I've been to the Royal Albert Hall 4 times this week, and I've not been able to get a cab each time I've come out. And she's had to walk most of the way to get it. So we need to fill those gaps, basically.
And the thing is, and to alleviate the concerns of those drivers in the trade that think that the intention is to flood the market with black cabs, that's not the intention. The intention is to try to stand still. Because we're still losing 20 drivers per week at the moment. And if you look at the number of people that are obtaining their badges, it's nowhere near 20 drivers a week. We're still losing 20 drivers a week.
1,000 drivers a year.
Even with those that are gaining their badges, taking those into account, we're still losing 1,000 drivers a year. So we need to attract people into the trade to stand still, not to increase the fleet of taxis, but to stand still, to stay where we are at this moment. There becomes a point where we become an unviable travel option for people because our numbers become so low. And we end up becoming like the gondolas of Venice, where we end up being just a tourist attraction. And we don't want to be that. We want to be a viable travel option for everybody in London. And to be a viable travel option for everybody in London, we need numbers, and we cannot go anywhere below where we are now, really. There are those that say we need to drop down to 13,000. We're getting very close to that at the moment. And if you probably look at the number of working taxi drivers in London, you're probably close to around 13,000 working on a regular basis. We really can't afford to go any lower than that.
Yeah, and it's other facets of the trade as well that, you know, it then has a knock-on effect and problems with production of the cabs, because who is going to invest into, you know, a new vehicle or a different vehicle if they go, well, look at this, there's less and less London cab drivers. It's a bit of a silly market to go into. So all the good things that we want from this trade, whether it's facilities or access to things, only come if we have the numbers to back it up. So coming back round, circling this point back round, obviously we started this about Paul Byron specifically, HP Taxis, and what he's doing. So anything you want to add there, Jamie? He doesn't, by the way, I mean, this is a good indication, good litmus test. He apparently doesn't listen to CabChat.
No, he doesn't listen to CabChat.
So we will see how effective this message is.
Yep. So I think he's doing a fantastic job of highlighting those that are coming out, of recently getting their badge, people that are on the knowledge, like Ben, that's doing the knowledge, 18 years of age, doing the knowledge at the moment. Young Connor, who's recently got his badge, the youngest cab driver in London at the moment. I think he's doing a fantastic job of highlighting people doing the knowledge and trying to attract people onto doing the knowledge. Absolutely fantastic job. And that, you know, people say he's got a vested interest because he wants to put people into his cabs. Let me say this, I think that Paul Byron, HP Taxis, is probably, if not the best proprietor in London at the moment. Let's see if that gets back to him. Yeah, and I stand by that. I think he's one of, if not the best proprietor in London because of the service that he gives to his drivers. Most of the drivers, or, you know, the vast majority of drivers that he rents taxis to stay with him long term.
Yep.
Yeah. And you hear very few complaints about Paul as a proprietor.
Yeah,
you only hear compliments about Paul.
Yep.
People that rent cabs off him, he may not be the cheapest, and I don't think he is the cheapest, but you only get people saying good things about him as a proprietor.
Well, I can give you an individual story. When I first got out, Paul had only just recently got into renting out cabs. So end of 2017. And, you know, I've done my knowledge, or nearly done my knowledge. I said, right, I want a TX4. I want to go rent a TX4. And I'd seen his name about. I thought, you know, I could trust him because he'd only done his knowledge, you know, a few years previously as well. Seen him on some of the Facebook groups, contact him, had a lovely chat with him, and various messages back and forth. And he was real with me. He says, he goes, look, I've got, I don't know if he either didn't have the TX4 I wanted, or it was just maybe because of a mileage concern. I can't remember what it was. But basically, he said, I can do you a Vito. And he said, that'd probably be much better because I was doing quite far mileage at the time. I was coming in from, you know, pretty much the Essex kind of Suffolk kind of border. Yeah. And, you know, he was real with me. He's like, goes, but I understand you want, you know, a TX4. You want to be a, you know, like a real cab driver. He was then also, a lot of people will forget about this fact, but he was the first fleet owner to go 100% electric in terms of the electric cabs. And at the time, everyone thought that was batshit crazy. That was like, because this was when the electric cab was still new in its infancy, and not a lot of people had gone onto it. Obviously, it's very easy now to look out in London and go, cool, majority of cabs are electric. When they first came out, they weren't, and he was the one who really said, this cab is the future, I'm doubling down on it. And he went for it, and he realised that there was no, you know, the writing was on the wall for the diesels, basically.
I think he's still the only proprietor in London to be 100% TXE. There's no other fleet in London that's 100% electric LEVC TXE taxis. He has no Nissans on his fleet at all. Yeah. Whereas some other proprietors do. Some other fleets have Nissans on their fleets. But yeah, very, very good proprietor, doing a fantastic job at promoting the knowledge. And if you want to view him on TikTok, no, he's not on TikTok anymore. He's come off of TikTok. The only place you can actually find him at the moment is on Instagram, HP Taxis on Instagram, promoting the knowledge and he was on YouTube.
The other thing that that really you just think, why is this not more obvious? Like people would say, as I've said, might have a go at Paul and say, well, you have a vested interest in this, but it's obvious, really. Like if you're a proprietor, and I don't see any other proprietors doing it, at least not to the degree that Paul does. If you go, you know what, my customer is cab drivers, and you look out there and go, right, we've got a lot of cab drivers, we're diminishing. Right, how do I get more customers? Well, you get more customers by espousing the knowledge and the benefits and the realities of becoming a cab driver, etc. But I don't see any other proprietor doing it. So you can throw all you want at this man and say, don't do it, it's a vested interest or whatever. But the business move is simple, and I don't get why some proprietors don't think of you know what, we're going to run a knowledge school, or we're going to do this thing to encourage drivers into the trade. It's seen as a bad thing when it's quite basic business sense. If you was in any other industry, you would look at where the potential pipeline for new customers has to come from.
Yep.
And it seems like a lot of, I can't speak for every proprietor, but at least what I'm seeing in social media land, pretty much all the other proprietors are sitting on their hands right now.
Yep. So if you want to see what Paul Byron's doing with regards to trying to encourage people to do the knowledge, encourage young people to do the knowledge, and also highlighting those that have just got their badges and seeing where they, what their journey was. Go and find him on Instagram at HP Taxis. He was doing a podcast on, it's a loose term, isn't it, for something on YouTube, because they're not really podcasts. But yeah, he called it a podcast on YouTube called Jumped In. I think he's abandoned that at the moment because he said it was too much hard work and too expensive, and then he decided that TikTok was very toxic and he didn't like that anymore. So he's now just on Instagram at the moment. But yeah, HP Taxis on Instagram. Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job, I think. Let's just point out one thing. He was obviously criticised for one of his comments in the newspaper, the £500 a day comment. Whether that was taken out of context or not, I'm not going to get into the whether it was or not. It's just a takeaway comment that he made that on a good day you could possibly earn that sort of money. And I think that the newspaper then decided to say that, every taxi driver was earning £500 a day, which is obviously not the case.
Here's my analogy. I'm not too sure if I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but for anyone who's new getting into this trade, who doesn't quite understand, where I think that £500 comment sits, I would liken it to the fact of, does it snow in London, or could it snow in London?
Yeah,
yes, it can. And snow can fall and settle in London, but the conditions have to be very specific and very right. And that is the same with £500, is that, yes, you can earn that, but the conditions, the hours you put in, the time of year have to be all aligned.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to refute that, but not to the degree that it can be done every single day, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if you want to see what he does, HP Taxis on Instagram at the moment, and we need to ask you a favour, because we need to attract more subscribers to this channel, and we always do it at the end of the show, and by that time, a lot of people have tailed off and disappeared. So, if you do like CabChat, please tell your friends about us, and also don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, to like and subscribe. We need subscribers on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, follow us in your favourite podcast app. We really, really do appreciate everybody that listens to us or watches us on YouTube. I know that some of those that were listening to us on the audio podcasts previously are now switching over to watching us on YouTube, and vice versa. So please make sure you follow or subscribe to whichever platform you're listening on or watching on, because we really need your support to try to get to 1,000 subscribers. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can get a little bit of ad revenue to pay for what it costs us to keep this going every single week, which is around about, I think it works out about £70 a month. And if we can get a bit of ad revenue coming in that would soften the blow of that coming out of my pocket, it would be fantastic, to be honest with you. So yeah, you can really help us by subscribing to the YouTube channel or following us on the audio podcast.
Yep. And other ways that you can support as well, show your appreciation, is that we have various meetups in the form of pie and mash and fish and chips. So open to anyone, everyone. This was great. We met at Kennedy's of Goswell Road just last month in February. Real great deal there. You, Jamie, have an announcement about the one we're going to be doing in March for pie and mash, if I believe.
I'm not sure when this one's going to go out because it might be after.
Yes, might be after
we're a couple of weeks behind now.
Well,
so
okay.
When's the next Fish and Chip Club meet going to be?
Next Fish and Chip Club will be the 13th of April. That's a Monday, and that will be at 7 p.m. We're going to be meeting at Gigs, which is on Tottenham Street near Tottenham Court Road. Very,
very central. So you've got no excuse not to come along. So we'd like to see as many of you come along there to Gigs in Tottenham Street at 7 p.m. on Monday, the 13th of April, which is only 2 weeks after the Pie and Mash Club meet.
Yeah, I've already surveyed actually pricing of some of these places, because trouble is some of the fish and chip establishments is that if you go in the restaurant, they charge
really
a hell of a
expensive.
lot more. Yeah, I mean, that was the good thing about Kennedy's, is that it was £16.50 for fish, chips, side, unlimited tea and coffee.
Yeah.
So that's really good deal.
Free receipt pads.
Yeah. So I'm surprised we've just binned off the idea of going to different fish and chips and just go there every time.
In Kennedy's all the time, and I've got to say, Kennedy's was really, really good as well.
I've got to. It's a personal plea that the more of you that come, they'll see that a big table of cab drivers turned up. I don't know if Gigs already do a discount for cabbies, but maybe they'll see us and go, you know what? Oh, I fucking love those geezers.
Yeah, I fucking love those geezers. Something that we don't put on the start of the YouTube video anymore.
Oh, no. That was the best bit.
Yeah, so I might have to reintroduce that. But got to thank everybody for their comments as well that they've been putting on the YouTube video. We asked, you to comment whether you preferred the music or not. And everyone on the YouTube videos said that they preferred without music.
They can now successfully subscribe now that the music is gone. Cheers, guys.
Yes, so you can subscribe. The music's gone, but we may add a little jingle, because one of the comments was jingles and stings are fine, but no music. So we made a little jingle at the beginning with our little voiceover at the beginning as well, which is, oh, I fucking love those geezers. So, yeah. But don't forget to like and subscribe and give us a thumbs up. If you're going to give us a thumbs down, as we said last week, don't just give us a thumbs down. Comment as to why you've given us a thumbs down. Otherwise, we don't know why you've done it.
Yep.
We're not going to be offended. Just if you didn't like a particular thing that we've done or something we've talked about or we've said something wrong or we was incorrect in something we've said, point it out and let us know so that we can rectify the problem or sort of adjust what we're doing to so that you like it a bit more and you can give us a thumbs up the following week.
I'm going to call out some people here. So in the last 28 days, 63% of you that have watched on YouTube are not subscribed to us.
Yeah.
So we're watching. We know you're there.
63%.
And 99% of you are men.
Yeah. And we've got a lot of non-cab drivers actually watching as well. A lot of non-cab drivers actually commenting as well. They just find us interesting. They say a couple of them said they watch you and Mark. They don't watch me. Thanks. But yeah, they watch you and Mark, and they said that they subscribe because, they're interested in the cab trade. So, maybe potential future cab drivers, who knows? But yeah. So what we got next on the agenda then, Thomas?
Other features you said about Cabeoke.
Karaoke, something we did quite a few years ago, just for a bit of a laugh, was karaoke. And it was something that was inspired by a telephone company in Australia who started a thing called karaoke in taxis. Yeah. And it was, they basically fitted karaoke systems into taxis and got people to sing. And they used it as a social media campaign across Australia. And apparently it was one of the most successful social media campaigns ever done by this telephone company. And we thought, oh, what a great idea. Let's do karaoke.
And then Aidan Kent bought the system.
And then Aidan Kent, no, he didn't have as good a system in his cab as what I had in my TX4. But yeah, you can't really fit anything in a TXE. because you can't change the stereo, you can't fit speakers in the back and things like. There's nowhere to do anything. But what it started off was that cab drivers would just have a bit of a sing-song on the way home or on the way in or something like that and post it up on a WhatsApp group that we had, and we was going to expand it to try to get passengers in the cab singing and film them, but obviously with their consent, because obviously TfL won't allow you to film people without their consent. But obviously if you get their consent, there's nothing from stopping you doing it. But you've got to get people's consent. You can't film people like that in a taxi without their consent. So it'd be, if someone got in and they, maybe you've got a group of people that get in the cab and they're singing already, and you say to them, "Here, you fancy having a bit of fun? Have a bit of, have a bit of a sing song on your way home. A bit of karaoke on the way home, and get them to have a sing song and film them on the way as well. Not holding your phone. No, they don't do that. Only if you've got a holder you can stick in the back of the cab, or get them to film themselves and send it to you, or put it on their Instagram and hashtag, or cabeoke into it, or at CabChat or something like that, on Instagram to tag us into it so that we can sort of grow it and it become a bit of fun. Try to make taxis a cool place to be.
They are,
and a fun place to be. Yeah. So it's something we want to reintroduce over the coming months. So if you've got any ideas, let us know. I know that Cabby Karen wants to get involved with Uchiku. So yeah, let us know if you've got any ideas or you want to get involved, and we're gonna progress this as the weeks go on. It was building momentum, but then sort of all died off, obviously for various reasons. But I've actually got the domain name, cabeoke.com. Spelt Kabieoke. Cabeoke.
In vocative of the original karaoke spelling.
Yes.
What language does the karaoke come from? I don't actually know. Karaoke.
Japanese.
Yeah, etymology, yeah. It's Japanese, yeah.
Something about
karaoke comes from Japanese. Oh, sorry, yeah, go for it.
Something about to sing badly or something like that, isn't it?
Apparently it's empty orchestra. Kara meaning empty, oki, orchestra. The term originated in 1970s. First prototype machine is credited to Japanese engineer, I'm not going to say his name, while singer entrepreneur, not going to say their name, is often credited with popularising it in 1971.
It's still quite a big thing, karaoke, isn't it? I mean, you've got the karaoke place on Victoria Street, haven't you?
Some of them in London are a bit naff because they're like, you just rent a room and you just do it with your mates.
That's a bit boring.
I've done ones, I did one in Budapest where it was like 2 floors and it was like to a whole crowd of people. It was mental.
Yeah.
When I was in Vietnam, right?
When I was in Nam.
When I was in Nam, back in the war. No, my travel was a couple of years ago. They love karaoke, right? But not for in a bar. They would just chill out at home, and people, they would have the big JBL speakers with all the flashing lights, the big boombox things. They'd stick those by their front door.
Yep.
And they would just all sit round their lounge and just do it, but they would kind of perform the karaoke to the streets. And I think it was just like a local thing that everyone who lived locally in those areas did that. Like, this is more suburban, less in the city or whatever. This was up in like Cat Bar in the north of Vietnam and that. And it must be that when you buy a house there, they'd probably just go, here you go, here's your karaoke boombox. It's served me well over the years. Like, in the same way that you buy a house and it comes with a fridge and a freezer and an oven, like, they just give you the karaoke machine. But it's just weird that they just invite friends over and they just chill out, just sitting down, just performing to the street, basically. But anyway, we don't need to perform to the street. We'll perform to other cab drivers.
No, I've got one of them big JBL boombox things. I've got a couple of them, actually. So
I should bring it on the taxi tour, and just that'll be, rather than Sylvie with his
megaphone.
Have said he would use that instead of his megaphone.
Yeah. Well, I have said I've also got some radio mics as well, like 12-volt radio mics as well. I have said that, years ago when we used to go to Disney in the Red Garter bar, the bar at the hotel, they used to have this band in there. There was like country and western. It was useless. It was rubbish. It was really bad. And I said, Why can't we have karaoke on the Friday night
Yeah.
in the bar?
Oh, that'd be so good.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
I would love that. I would stay out so late.
Maybe it's something I can bring up at the next committee meeting.
Please
See
do.
if we can do it.
Please.
It's just something, a bit of fun, isn't it? A bit of fun for the, you could even get earlier on, you could even get, because children are allowed in that bar, you could even get the kids involved doing a bit of karaoke as well, couldn't you?
And you don't really get to see cab drivers in, out of cab mode very often. So obviously you see them with a beer in their hand because you've got a day in the park, you're not driving till the day after. And there is the nightclub on site there, but not everyone wants to stay out like that late.
Billy
It's just
Bob's.
nice to sit down, and people who aren't into it can sit and watch it, and people that are into it, i.e. me, can get involved.
You like a bit of karaoke, do you?
I've been known to do a bit of Tom Jones, but
A bit of Tom Jones, eh?
yeah.
That's not unusual.
I think we're winding this one very neatly to an end. So we're going to go on to the final segment, which is not this week. It's not a death of the roads, but it's a birth. It's not a road per se, but it's something that is welcome to us cab drivers and some people don't fully know about. So we are going to share with you less of a somber note and more of a jubilant note, which is a birth of a particular bus lane.
A birth?
A birth. In Camden, a borough where cameras keep score and fines sometimes seem to arrive before the door, where signs bloom like flowers and restrictions hold sway. There's a news of a marvel appearing on Parkway. Camden High Street stands guarded, restricted and tight, a maze of red circles that fill cabbies with fright. Choose poorly, and somewhere, unseen and discreet, a camera is quietly logging your seat. But over on Parkway, a wonder appears, a ribbon of roadway to brighten our gears, a lane for the buses and taxis as well, which here in Camden feels almost like Noel, where once you'd be circling, plotting a track, or fearing a letter that lands weeks back, now forward we glide with little hooray, a clear run of tarmac that points down Parkway. So, trumpets for Camden, we'll sail it out plain. They've gifted the city a glorious lane. Let banners be raised and good tidings proclaim. In Camden, no less, a helpful bus lane.